Welcome back to the Besta pod ever. This is episode 2. And once again, I am delighted to be joined by Tryggvi. Tryggvi, how are you?
I'm good. A little nervous about talking about Kjartan after this, the result from this week, but no, I'm good. How are you, Joe?
Yeah, I'm doing good. I'm excited to kind of comb through this last week in the league. There's definitely a lot of talking points. I don't know if we'll get to all of them in this episode because we are trying to kind of keep it listenable and not too long. But yeah, we'll do our best. But yeah, no, I think it's gonna be good. And yeah, we're gonna talk about Kaur at kind of to kind of cap off the episode here. So that will be a little later. But first, let's go ahead and run through what happened on match day 7. So I'm gonna do my best to actually start saying these with maybe the Icelandic accent if I can. And you can correct me, Tryggvi, if I'm wrong. But yeah, so and the first one's gonna trip me up, I know. But anyways, so from the top, Stjarnan 4, IBV. I have to work on that one. 0. So Stjarnan getting a good result there at home. So we'll break that down here in just a second, but that was a good result for them. Kaur 0, Breidablik 1. Kawa 0, Valur 4. Keflavik 0, Hauka 2. Did I say that right?
Nice. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Fylkir 3, Fram 1, and Vikingur 2, FAO 0. So that's kind of the breakdown from match week 7. Vikingur still in first. Actually, the top 3 remain unchanged. So Vikingur in first, Valor in second, and Breidablik in third. Haukau jumped back up into fourth, so they're in the top 4 once again. Kind of where they've been for a majority of the season so far. So good for them. Still getting those results, which is impressive. Kawa slipped a little bit down to 5th, and FAO is now in 6th, followed by Fram, Stjarnan, Fylkir. So those two, Stjarnan and Fylkir, are off the bottom now, which is good for them. And then IBV, Keflavik, and Kaur rounds up the bottom of the table. So yeah, it's kind of starting to take shape a little bit. I think there's still a lot to play for, obviously, but a few facts from week 7. It was really actually similar in a lot of ways to week 2. You may have seen us tweet this out on our Twitter account, but just like week 2, there were 5 shutouts in week 7, which of course was the second time this season. And also for the second time this season, there was no game that scored 5 or more goals. So week 2 was the first as well where that happened. So we had a couple of 4-0 score lines, but a lot of the weeks there's been some really high scoring games, and this was the second time this season where no game hit 5 goals. So yeah. What did you think of the games this week, Tryggvi?
Yeah, no, it was a good, like you said, it's a to call it a low scoring round is maybe says a lot about, or lower scoring round is a bit, says a bit about how this league has started, right?
Yeah.
There's plenty of goals in this league so far. There's not a lot of Catenaccio being played apparently, or not, if it is not being done very well.
Mm-hmm.
But no, it's yeah, like you said, Hauko still managing to get those results off. Away this time against Keflavik, which is, like we spoke about, like we don't have to go into too much again, but it's important that they get these points. We don't know, it is a long season, so it's important to get these points against the supposed relegation They're relegation rivals, although it's not looking much like a relegation at the moment for Hauka. And then it's it's Víkingur and Breiðablik still, and Valur of course still um, they're starting maybe I don't know if they're pulling away. It's a bit early maybe to say. I think Víkingur surely is a bit. But no, it's another good round.
Yeah. So you have a few stats here in our notes actually, and I'll read one of them, and then you can take the other one. But you wrote down here that Nikolai Hansen is now the 7th highest foreign goal scorer, which I would assume over the history of the league. I'm assuming.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I want to give credit where credit's due. This is from Vidir, sorry. I forgot his name now again. I'm having another name day this this episode.
No
I'll get his name a little bit later in the episode. But yeah, just to credit where credit's due. But yeah, it's he's been scoring. I mean, he's been a very successful goal scorer in this league so far. And he's nowhere near done. I think he's still, he has plenty left, and it's more just if he decides to stay in Iceland, which obviously for the league we hope he does, and hope he keeps. But and then there were, if you stay on Víkingur as well, they were the first team to only concede 1 goal in the first 7 matches in the league. So both up front we have Nikolai and others doing the business, while at the back they're still keeping it tight. So far not a lot of weaknesses, at least showing with this side.
Yeah. This is definitely a record-setting Víkingur side. It seems like so. Yeah, it's expecting, I guess, a lot more from them. I think they still have some pretty stern tests still to come in the league. But yeah, they haven't really done anything so far to even hint that, this is that there's going to be, I guess, a blip in the radar, so to speak. I actually thought FL might give them a little bit of a challenge, and I didn't really get that sense. It was kind of game on as usual, and it really exposed, I think, a lot of the weaknesses for FL this season. Just kind of well, first of all, they're really inconsistent with their form, but also they just, I think through the middle and out wide, I think they suffered a little bit. I thought Víkingur shut them down really well, and didn't let them create a ton. I think they did that better in the first half than the second half. Second half, FL kind of grew into the game, I would say, and started to create a few chances. But Víkingur, then their defense kind of stepped up and started to shut things down. And bit of a controversial. I don't know. There was some jawing after this game with the certain player on FL's team who a lot of people are thinking
signing of the season. You said
that is what I said. That is what I said. And I don't know. I mean, he has played. I defend my position. He had played very well, and then I think maybe he got in his head a little bit, and made some comments and did some actions during the game that probably didn't put him in the best light. And there's some people out there who, quite a few people actually, who are really thinking he probably should have been sent off, not once but twice. So curious, I guess, for your thoughts on that. I can definitely understand it. So.
Yeah, especially the first one. If people haven't seen it, it's sort of a bit of a tussle, and he goes down, Kjartan Henry, and yeah, it's an unnecessary kick towards business night, and it's just I think that's he didn't connect. Thank God for him, but for both players actually. But yeah, I mean it's the intent that counts, right? So that's at the very least a yellow. I think it's a orange. I think, or if not red. So, and then this he has come out afterwards and apologized for that. That was he said as well, is a stupid kick, in frustration. The other one, you can, depending on the tint of your glasses, you can make arguments about whether it was a fair tussle or not. Blood coming from Nicola Hansen's face didn't make it look any better for Kjartan, but yeah. It was a tough game, and then I think there was a bit of a tussle between the managers, verbally at least afterwards, with Heimir calling Víkingur a dirty side, and then Arna responding in what he had then later admitted, and we're not going to repeat exactly what he says, also because it translates. It already sounds pretty bad in Icelandic, and it translates even worse into English.
Yeah.
So he came out with a comment, that he has apologized for. It was what he said was just incredibly stupid comment. So, but he apologized. So everyone apologized for most things. So hopefully we can move on and everyone can shake hands and be friendly again.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I mean it's easy to get caught up in the moment, right? And I'm assuming that's probably what happened there. But yeah, just some jawing back and forth between coaches, shooting shots across Reykjavik, and and yeah, no, it's good that both sides apologized, and yeah, let's move past it now.
I think the more interesting thing about this, maybe in the long run, is whether there's any action from the FA, like retroactive action for Kjartan, because it could set a precedent either way, right? If they punish him or don't, right? It says something on what they would be doing in the future. What do you think?
Yeah, no, yeah, I totally agree with that too. And I also know that they're reviewing, or at least the disciplinary committee, from what I'm seeing, is reviewing what, Kjartan Henry did as well. And so I think there's a possibility that he could maybe face a suspension also, which, would be interesting. So yeah, it's I think. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it will set some precedent going forward. I saw some comments. I guess I'll mention this as well too, from some individuals that the referees were scared to do anything against Kjartan, because I guess of his status or stature or whatever you want to say. It's kind of a big player, which. I don't know. I mean, personally, I'm not sure that's really true. But anyways, I don't want to get stuck on it, I guess, but it's just something I saw and something I kind of was like, really? Like, I don't know. A ref is
obviously obviously he's a big name, but I mean, he's been here for a bit of time. It's not like he just came off came from the Superliga he's been here for a while. I think people know him. He was here when he was a kid as well, so I think people know him.
Yeah.
I would be surprised if that's going through their minds.
Yeah, agreed. All right, well, we'll tuck that game away and move forward. But good, solid performance from Víkingur. They played well, and yeah, there's some things I think that will need to be addressed from FAU's perspective. I guess we should also mention as well that Finnur Margeirsson also picked up a red card for FO in that game too, so he's out. I think the disciplinary committee came out with the bans today, and so yeah, as you would expect, he won't be playing in the next game. So
you timed that very well. Nobody's talking about him because it's all Kjartan Henry.
Yeah, exactly. He
Everyone
slipped that
forgot
under
that
the
he
radar,
got a.
didn't he?
Yeah, exactly. It's a good time to get a red card.
I guess so. All right, cool. Let's move on to Stjarnan. Actually, I wanted to talk about them. So we mentioned this, I think, briefly in our last episode, but they got a new coach. The assistant coach for the club stepped into the head coach role. Jokul, is that how you say it?
Yeah, close enough. Like we covered last time, it's probably one of the hardest names in Iceland.
Okay, cool. I'll say Jokul. Yeah, I read a few things last week that labeled him as the new Icelandic Klopp, which I think speaks volumes. So apparently he's got a really good head on his shoulders, and there's a lot of high hopes for him and what he can do. And yeah, they rolled out a 4-0 win, massive confidence builder for sure over IBV. All right, so tell me how you say it in. Sorry, listeners, I'm learning.
It's a lesson for everyone here. So it's IBVF.
IBVF.
Yeah.
IBVF. Okay. Yeah, so 4-0 win over IBVF. Yeah, I thought they played really well. They looked completely different from how they have been, at least the games that I've seen so far this season, and I try to catch them on a weekly basis if I can. I felt like they came out with a lot of energy. I thought that they scored some great goals. In fact, you may have seen on our Twitter feed. So this is something new that I kind of started this last week. Is our goal of the week, and so I think it was their second goal is up for our goal of the week, which was scored by Orvar Logi. So if you get a chance, hit our Twitter feed and go vote for who you think scored the goal of the week. But yeah, I was really, really impressed. And do you think this is going to be a turning point in their season?
Like we spoke a little bit about last week. It's a young team. They've been unlucky with injuries. They're one of their top goal scorers is back now. Like historically, Hilmar he's back from injury. He's been out for a while. I think, and they're getting some players back, like Jürgen touched on. But to be honest, going forward has not been their, like, of course they've struggled in some games, but generally going forward has not really been their where they struggle this season, right? It's more trying to keep the other team scoring or maybe try a bit of a solid game. So I think we'll give him the same answer I said for whether they should have sacked the manager already. I think let's give them a little bit more time. Let's see. We'll have to see how these young players perform against maybe some more regularly. I give them like 5 more games, see if they can get some sort of a run going, a bit more stability. But no, I think it's really really impressive performance for them, and they've got some, like you said, they've got some good players. They've got one of the highest assists, or is it the highest assist? We also, speaking of our Twitter,
yeah.
We have a new cooperation, so it's so yeah. Is he the highest assist?
Yeah. So he's tied with 5, and of course you're talking about Isak Andri, and he's incredible player, and he's probably not going to be in the league for much longer, if I'm being honest.
No, but if we can get someone like that who can both score and assist, and combine him with Hilmar Árni, who's now back. This is going to be an attack that not many teams can withstand. We'll see what Vikingur has to say about them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's about consistency for these guys. I mean, both two of their goal scorers were players that were scoring their first ever top league goal. One of them was 17 years old. So it's like we said before, this is an up and coming team. Let's give them some time. Let's give them some breathing room. Same with the manager. But no, so far so good. And I just want to throw in and just give the name that I was struggling with before. Vidar Sigurðsson is the guy who's helping us with getting these facts from. But it's in a very Icelandic fashion. Two brothers played against each other in this game. Guðmundur Baldur Nökkvason played for Stjarnan, and Nökkvi Már Nökkvason played for IBVF. And their father, Nökkvi Svinsson, also played football back in the 90s. So it's pushing under the stereotype a little bit, but
yeah,
for Icelandic
right.
football. But we gotta be famous for something, I guess.
Well, yeah, and it's it's a footballing family, and you love that, so it's a good thing. Yeah, no, that's a good thing. And you're right. I this is a young team, and I agree with you. I think giving them a little more time is probably a good thing. I think it's all positive right now. And can they keep this going is as you mentioned, going to be, I think, what maybe matters a little more long term, right? They have to keep getting these results now. So if they can keep getting some shutouts and some strong defensive performances, then maybe they've started to solve a little bit of their issues, because going forward they're looking pretty good. On the flip side, IBVF, so what's going on there? So they've kind of hit they've lost their last three now. I think they've kind of started to tank slightly. Any thoughts on them, and any idea what to do there?
Yeah, this is one of those teams that I had no idea what to expect going into the season. And to be honest, I don't think many other people did. I think at the very beginning, sort of, or in the early spring, I think people were talking about them being certainties for relegation, and then they put some results together, and people realized they have decent players in there, like D. Smith, goalkeeper that from Valur, and passionate manager, I think, if nothing else, in Hermann Hreiðarsson. But then then they have these runs where it's just nothing goes right, and it's it's a small squad as well. They added a lot towards the end of the very end of the transfer window. To probably using their connections in Jamaica, with their old manager. So I think it's also about giving them a little bit of time to settle on a starting lineup, to give some of the new kids, especially maybe the foreign players, a bit of time to adjust. It must be, especially coming from abroad, this must be one hell of a place to land, coming from anywhere.
Yeah.
No, that's different. I can imagine. So but no, I honestly, ever going into most weekends, I don't really know what to expect from them. Whether they're gonna, what IBVF is gonna show up.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and like we mentioned last episode, they're strong at home, and they seem to struggle away. So perhaps they were away to Stjarnan this week, so perhaps not too surprising, I guess, in that fashion. But it's it'll be interesting to see what they can do.
home to FV next weekend. So that's then, if the home form of IPVAF and the away form of FV goes, means anything so far, then that's a solid 3 points for IPVAF. But
right.
so I guess we'll see. We'll see if that trend continues or if it's the losing trend that continues. So I think we'll get maybe a better picture of both teams. Weekend.
Yeah. Good. Let's hop down now to so we're going to talk a little bit about Fylkir, and then we're also going to talk about the Kawa Valur game. So those are kind of the next two topics. So let's start with Fylkir, actually. Fylkir. Yeah. So they went down to Fram 1-0 at home, but then they were able to just really storm back. And they ended up winning that game 3-1, which is a good result for them. Last week they were rock bottom of the league, and now they've kind of jumped up along with Stjarnan. And so both of those teams moved up 3 spots in the standings this week after their wins. And I see in the notes here that teams are struggling with consistency at the bottom, and I agree with that. It's where they really stand. I think maybe it's a little too early in the season to tell, perhaps. I think everybody agrees that Fylkir will probably be in the bottom half of the table, but I think it's a good result for them. I think it's a win that they needed and should give them a little bit of confidence as they go into this next week. And just another shout. So another goal of our week was in this game. Really nice finish by Olafur Carl Finson. If you get a chance, go check it out because I think you'll appreciate it. Nice little chip over the goalkeeper to put Fylkir on the map and start their comeback. So I don't know if you caught any of this game or not, or if you have any thoughts to share, but that's kind of my thoughts on Fylkir right now.
Yeah, I didn't see the game, but I caught the goals, and I have to say that goal got my vote. It's
nice.
The defending wasn't the greatest. I have to say it's not quite up to Keflavik from last weekend, but they sort of, I mean, they gifted him a bit of a shot, but like the way he finished that is just please go to our Twitter and check that goal out. It's you're 1-0 down for a team that's fighting relegation, and you do that. It's fantastic. It's a great finish.
Yeah.
To be honest, I think it's more of a thing lost for Fram. I think most, not that Fram has been doing a Hauko yet this season, but I think they've been fairly solid. Hoping maybe to stay in to nick a spot in the top half, or sort of be in the upper echelons of the bottom one. So I think this is a very disappointing loss for Fram against the Fylkir side. That they've got some Oliver Katlinsson as a class player, and they've got some good players, Emil Ausmundsson as well from Coward. But they're really struggling with injuries. The back line is makeshift at best. I think it's impressive for Fylkir to score 3 goals especially, and but I think Fram will be very upset at losing especially after going 1-0 up.
Yeah. And even with those 3 goals, Fylkir are still sitting in a negative goal differential at -6. So I think you're right. That's a good perspective. Is Fram perhaps maybe expected to get something from this game, and they didn't. So they'll look to, I guess, turn things around this next week. Speaking of, I think I know we said we're going to talk about Valur, but I think just very quickly on Keflavik, there's injuries, and Nacho is now. Do we know how long he's out? Has that been confirmed or? I did read some stuff about that earlier in the week. I know that I think it's long term.
Yeah, that's
Up,
definitely what they were like fearful of, and I think that's a huge loss because I mean this is a team that's been we're having the manager Sigurd Ragnar so coward. I'm just gonna throw in all the positive coward talk in as much as I can. He's trying to rally his troops, but it's if he can avoid the drop with his team, I think it's a fantastic achievement. They're lost, basically their entire starting lineup, or at least the good parts of it, right? It's, all their key players went to even we talked about Patrick last weekend, but they're even losing players to both their domestic rivals and also abroad. So it's I think they're in. I don't think this is a controversial statement saying I think Keflavik are in trouble. With this latest injury, I think they need a quick boost right now.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. They're in a bit of an injury crisis, and like you said, they sold some players and whatnot, or some players left and all that. So yeah, they're going to need all the support they can get, which is interesting because their coach put out a statement on his Facebook this last week trying to get people to come to the game and kind of rally the troops type thing. And still I think I saw only about 300 people showed up at the game, which, good for them. That's great. And I hope he does. I hope he finds a way, to kind of keep or to find some results in some form or fashion. Because you're right. If they can find a way to stay up this season, I think it's I think it's a miracle more or less. Because
they're gonna be hoping to cover it.
What was that?
They're gonna have to hope for a team like a bigger team maybe, and then cover like Coward continuing to struggle. I think they're going to need teams doing worse than them rather than them maybe doing better than other teams.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So you have here too. Just I see one of your notes. Having to rely on buying foreign players, which can be a bit of a gamble, especially when they're bringing in players from the second division in Australia. So for those of you who don't know, there's a couple players that Keflavik brought in this year. One or two, I think, of whom were playing in the second division in Australia, and like we mentioned earlier, it takes a little bit to adjust to the league, and how it's how play goes. It can be a very tough, very physical league, in a lot of respects, and so that doesn't necessarily help when you're trying to bring in these players that are kind of new to the scene. So there's definitely an adjustment period there.
Yeah, I think it's just the reality of the league a bit. Where we are a small country, we don't have an endless amount of players to bring in, and buying Icelandic players can be, or especially if they're highly rated, it's not cheap.
Right.
It's getting more and more expensive. So it does happen that the teams have to rely on foreigners, which can work really well with I think Vikingur has done really well with Gunnar Vatnamar, I think his name is his last name. He's come in from Faroe Islands and done really well.
Mm-hmm.
But the flip side is that there are other teams that, and I'm not, we're not writing off anyone after 7 games. Especially like we said, it takes a while to adjust to this league, but it might take it takes some players a bit longer to get going, and while this season is far from over, it's not the longest season before it splits up, so you need to get a bit of traction.
Yep. Soon. No, exactly. Well, I guess thoughts out to, or condolences out to Keflavik, and hopefully they'll find a way to turn something around. So Kawa Valur, what a game. This was a crazy game. So this was, we kind of highlighted this as kind of one of our games to watch for week 7. And I'll be honest with you, I thought Kawa would maybe put up a little more of a fight, especially at home. And so perhaps, at the time they were 2 top 4 teams in the league, and they both, are coming into that game on pretty good form. And so perhaps it speaks volumes to where Valur is actually at this season. And, they're a really, they are actually a fun team to watch. I enjoyed that for sure. And so, yeah, I was a bit surprised at this result. If I'm being honest, I didn't think they would hit Kawa for 4. And yeah, it was a little bit surprising. What did you think?
Yeah, I think they're, Valur they struggled last season. It's I don't think that's a secret. So I think some people were expecting, it's obviously a good team. They're one of the teams with the best sources in the country. So there's international players, former international players there. But I think people were still maybe a bit cautiously optimistic. I don't think anyone was expecting Valur to pull up any trees this year. Maybe just I don't think anyone was realistically thinking they'd be outside of the top 3 or 4. But yeah, I find it a bit hard to reconcile that with people not expecting this team to score, because if you look at the firepower in this team, it's insane. You have Ander Runar, who's struggled with injuries, but he's a talk about proven goal scorers. He did it with even half fit at IBVF. Could and so if they can get him fit, which it looks like they are, then he's there's not many defenders who can deal with him. And then behind him you have U.S. international Aron Johansson and people like Tryggvi and
great goal, by the way. A little bit of like I'm calling it a half bike, but good finish.
Yeah, he's a fantastic player. I remember seeing him when he was a bit younger and playing in Denmark, and it's just this kid. You could see this kid was going places. Doesn't matter. I don't think it matters how old these sort of players get. There's just class is permanent, as they say. And so then they have Adam Mayer as well. It's players like this. When you have players like this, and you can get them playing half decently, I think it's really hard to stop them. But yeah, of course, Kawa have been stronger in defense, especially at home, in the past year. So four goals is without any response is a lot, obviously. I think it says more about Valur than it does about Kawa at this point, to be honest. I think Valur, and that's a little bit of what I was alluding to before. I think honestly, Viking, Valur, and Breiðablik are in a bit of a league of their own, at least at the moment, barring any huge loss of form. I find it, unless they really start dropping off a cliff or something, I find it hard to see anyone really competing with those 3 at the moment.
Yeah. And it doesn't seem to matter at this point in time whether or not they're playing on grass or artificial turf. They're able to score, and yeah, that's huge. Which kind of leads me on to a question that we got from a follower. So any thoughts on the debate around grass pitches in Iceland? There were some fierce words / tweets on Saturday around the state of Meistaravelur. Did I say that right?
Almost Meistaravelur.
There we go.
There's that double L again. It's a it's a doozy. Yeah, but to be honest, this is a discussion that's been going on for a very long time in Iceland. Every single season this pops up. This season again, of course, that pitch did not look good. And I think everyone admitted that afterwards. Rúnar Kristensen, Coward manager, said as much. They don't want to be playing on a pitch like this. Nobody wants to be playing on a pitch like this. But I think it's a bit of a longer discussion. I think because I think it is important to think about how you do these things, right? Because I remember there was a discussion back in 2019, 20, I think something like this. Not so long ago, not so long ago, when there was a lot of talk about some of the state of the indoor pitches, especially. There were a lot of injuries. Speaking of Hilmar Árni, like we spoke about before, he got. I'm not a doctor. I don't know if you noticed that, but so I don't know exactly how much was related to that pitch, but he got a very serious injury on an AstroTurf pitch. One of an ex-Coward player essentially, got an injury so bad he had to retire afterwards. Gunnar Thor. So I think it's also important to really understand that you can't just slap a smart AstroTurf down and then everything's good, because obviously if that was the case, I think everyone would just do that, right? But it's not a pitch that lasts forever. I think depending on the usage, I think we'll touch on Coward in a little bit, but or we can just sort of use as a jumping off point into Coward. The infrastructure there, it's not good enough. I think everyone admits that. The new chairperson of Coward, Þórhildur Garðarsdóttir, has come out, and there was a new interview in another podcast that I just saw with another member of the Coward board, who they're coming. Everyone from Coward is coming out of the woodwork now and saying that we're ready. We're ready to upgrade. We have the plans. We've been waiting for the plans for a while. I think one of the quotes was that the mayor has been coming to the Coward facilities and taking pictures with kids that promising all the good things in the world, and now these kids that he took pictures with are now taller than him. It's nothing is. So it's where the truth lies in that it's not for us to know, but that's a facility which isn't in need of upgrade, where there's only one AstroTurf training pitch, where it's, the number being bandied around is there's 800 children training on that pitch, plus the two first team, the women and the men's first team, and the state of that, even though it's a year old or something, the state of that, it looks like a 5-year-old pitch. So I think it depends very much on how it's done and what the other facilities are. If it's you can slap an AstroTurf, but if it's being overused like this and it's in disrepair a little bit, then I think it is not a magic bullet. But it's one of the problems Coward is having at the moment. There is a plan for a new grand complex. They're going to turn the stadium 90 degrees or something, and they're going to fix the stand. They're going to add more an indoor playing field and stuff like that. I think which is very necessary for the team. It's these facilities need an upgrade. A bit like the squad. Squad has been needing for a while, and it's the pitch being like this is not the reason Coward, I think, are struggling. They've only played one game on the pitch, right? And to be honest, if you look at their form in the last few years, their home form is not like the home form has been a fortress in recent years either. But yeah, there's we go a little bit into the team, it's sorry if I jump around a bit too much. Just let me know. I have a lot of thoughts on this. But if we go into the team a little bit and sort of talk about renewal, a bit like the pitch, this is a team that is going through a lot. A bit like the national team, it was a very old team a few years ago that's being now forced into changes, and the management have all admitted that this was done maybe a little bit too late, because now they're being forced into it. Players are either retiring or being moved on, whether that's willingly or unwillingly, we don't know. Some of them moving on, like Kjartan Henry, with quite a good success. Others maybe less so. But yeah, I saw that the medium age in 2020 was almost 32 years, and now it's 20, just under 27 years. That's I know that doesn't sound like a lot, like it's only a few years, but if you think about it, this is not a huge squad. This is not like a 30-man squad. So to reduce that by from 32 to 27 or just under 27 is quite a lot, and you see that in the lineup. The last person to score was Beoni Breki, who's a hugely talented player who's, I think, done quite well so far, but he's a teenager that's coming in, playing, being asked to do a lot. There's they lost, even though Kjartan Henry didn't play a lot, he was still part of the team for the last bit of time. They're getting some strikers back from injury. Christian Floki is coming back from injury. We don't know exactly his form, and you have a new goalkeeper coming from abroad, like we've spoken about. It's a lot of question marks, a lot of rebuilding, and I think it's a team that's, there's a lot of question marks about this team. It's 460 minutes since the last goal, which is closing in on the club record which is 516 apparently, and this is our first time being bottom of the league since 2007, which was not the greatest year. So it's not looking good. It's not a team that can just pull. Where this is not a Chelsea that can pull the trigger and buy for 300 million in the summer transfer window. There was a report from Deloitte and the Icelandic FA that came out a few weeks ago, which had the wages of KR being around lower to mid-table, a fourth of what Valur has, for example. And going back to the state of the pitch, it's one of the reasons I think at least being used is that they have some good people working on it, but it's just and they know what to do. They just can't afford to do what they want to do. Again, this is it's coming from inside the club, so we don't saying this is always the truth, but there is the truth of the financial restrictions being placed on the team, which is new for KR. Admittedly, there's a reason this is a shock. It's because it's one of the biggest teams in Iceland. It's financially, it has that financial backing in the past. It's just struggling a little bit now. But I don't know what I've been talking a bit now. I think. What are your thoughts about some of this?
Okay, so I have a few questions then. So in terms of financial backing, I mean, was that, you look at other leagues like the Bundesliga, right, and they have the 50+1 rule, but then you also, you look at leagues like the Premier League, right, and they have all these big money investors that are coming in. So who's investing in the game in Iceland? Is it private companies? Is it individuals? Is it the state, or the government? Like, how is that? And I guess kind of to follow up that question, so this new proposed stadium, is that part of of what I guess what you were mentioning earlier with this plan that they proposed to the mayor. Is that all part of the same thing, or was that two separate things?
Yeah, the finances in the league is something that's, I think, needs a bit more clarity overall. To be honest, I think there's been a lot of, this is a small country with the mentality is often that everybody knows what's happening, so there's no need to maybe go into everything because oh yeah, we all know this is what's happening. I think it's something that I think would benefit from some maybe taking a look into, maybe questioning a little bit, because there have been teams, and I admit this fully, like Howard has had backing of some powerful individuals connected to banks, especially pre-crisis. And this is the case with other teams as well. They've it's not always in the same way as buying a controlling stake and pumping into millions, and it's also a little bit too hard to know exactly. Like this goes to a lot of different things in the league. It's when we talk about transfers of players, when we talked about Patrick this week and last week, there's numbers being banded around, but there isn't an official number that's out there. There's not this wasn't, and there was even discussion this week about the Gunnar that the Vikingur bought from the Faroe Islands. There was a number being banded around 400,000 Danish kroner, I think, which now the Vikingur have come out and said is way off, but it's a bit of an issue that we don't really know. I mean, imagine this is, you talk about the Bundesliga. What if, Lewandowski, or not Lewandowski is bad, it's a terrible example. But I picked the free transfer. But yeah, it's imagine, it's Bellingham gets bought by, Real Madrid or Bayern Munich or something. And it's just, it's undisclosed. Nobody, you don't need to know about that. Oh no, it's not 100 million, 200 million. It's somewhere under that. Yeah, no, I don't know. It's not it's not always I think it's not a healthy way to continue growing this league. I think we need some transparency into running this. It's getting better. We're getting some financial reporting from these teams. We're getting in some level of insight into their incomes. In this Deloitte report, for example, there is some amounts from how much these teams are getting from UEFA, how much they're getting from transfers. For example, Breiðablik got quite a lot from transfers, but this is back in 2022, so this is old data as well.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of the money's coming from somewhere. and it seems to looking from the outside, it's you see some clubs buying a lot of players and maybe not making it to Europe that season, and you think like, okay, but then because we know that Europe is a big money, it would be a huge pot for some of these teams. But then have some teams spending a lot of money and not making it for 1 or 2 years, and it's still keep spending, and it's hard to know exactly where that money's coming from, or if they're doing okay. I mean, we've had some discussions in past seasons about players not paying their wages, being paid their wages, sorry, which I think is terrible. These are people, especially not that it's worse for foreigners, but I think you have people coming here, maybe leaving their family behind to play football for a few months in a foreign country and then not getting paid. This is not how we should be running this league, and so that's a very long answer to this question, but I think it's something that and if we have listeners out there that would have some opinions about this, or have some more insights about this, we'd love to hear from you. I think it's a discussion that we would really love getting into a bit further.
Yeah.
Because I think it's some And I'm not saying there's anything dirty or anything like that happening. I think it just helps sometimes to shine a light on what's happening. Even though maybe the clubs know what they're doing, I think it's good that we also know.
Yeah.
The rest of us know what's happening. And in terms of the stadium, yeah, it's a plan that they've been apparently that's been on the table with the city for quite some time. And that's the one that the mayor has been promising, and the government apparently has been promising to put into effect for some time.
Okay. So they're one and the same. Okay.
Yeah. So it's an entire upgrade to the entire facility. So the stadium and getting an indoor hall and some more training pitches and expanding the area in general. I think we can maybe tweet out some links, some pictures or something afterwards. But I think it's because it's a necessary investment from Kawar, but it's see when it happens.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, I can just speak from my own experience. If you had one turf field that 800 kids were playing on, which is not necessarily uncommon here in the USA, although it is uncommon that a club has their own field. But for those that do tend to have their own field, a facility that's turf, or they're renting it, that happens a lot. It's not as uncommon as you would think to have 800 kids on that field on a weekly basis, and yeah, it makes it tough. It wears it out super fast, and yeah, so that's brutal, and hopefully Kawar, who is one of the most storied teams in Iceland, can really dig in and make something of the season. I think that'd be good, and we don't want any Tryggvi tears on this show, so.
Yeah, it's not going well. I don't think anyone's under any disillusion with that. I think
yeah,
it was better against Breiðablik. They were we were close to getting at least a draw against them, but yeah, another plug for the goal of the week tweet. I know it was but yeah, was it on there or was it a honorable mention?
It was an honorable mention. It was tough. It was tough this week. I could only pick 4 because you can only put 4 videos on the tweet, but and you can only have 4 options for the vote, so it's only ever going to be 4. But yeah, it was close. That was a nice little finish. But I will say, and yeah, we haven't really talked about the game much. We've talked more, I guess, about the state of the club. But yeah, I thought that Kawar actually, I thought they played pretty well, and I think Breiðablik, and this, I don't mean this to be taken in the wrong way, but they tend to sometimes play to the level of their opponent, I think, and so I think that's why we've seen some of the results for them that we have. Unlike last season when they really just were able to grab the game by the scruff of the neck and just take charge, I think they're still trying to find ways to do that. And so yeah, I thought it was kind of somewhere in that middle where I think Kawar put in a much better performance this week. But also I think maybe Breiðablik, they just kind of fell into that same trap of maybe coming down just a little bit. And so they were able to squeak it out in the end. But hopefully a glimpse of hope for Kawar. You guys have Fram next on, I think it's either Sunday or Monday, but yeah, that's a big game already. So yeah.
Yeah, I think we need to. There's some cup games in midweek, but yeah, so I think we need to start at the very least scoring. I think next few games is Fram and then Stjarnan and then Fylkir. So it's games that I don't think anyone is expecting 9 points out of those games, but I think upward trajectory, I think, is what hopefully we can look forward to.
Yeah. I guess just to kind of wrap things up, a few thoughts going through my head, especially as it relates back to the turf and the field situation and just turf versus grass in general. you look at a league like the Eredivisie, which a lot of those clubs probably do have more funding than maybe the clubs in Iceland do, at least at this point in time. Although I guess don't quote me on that. I don't know that as fact, but you'd almost maybe think that. But that's a big debate going on there in the Eredivisie, and there's a lot of push for clubs to get off of turf and to get on all grass, which maybe in Holland is easier to do than in a place like Iceland, right? But yeah, it's just interesting to kind of almost compare the two if you can, and just that's been a big push from a lot of the higher ups in the KMVB is to try to get all the clubs in the Eredivisie on grass, and I think even Ajax took some of their winnings and shared it with the rest of the clubs in the league. And I'm not saying that that's what we should expect Vikingur or Breiðablik to do or anything like that. But I am saying, I don't know if there's some sort of additional funding that can come into the league, or even just for a team like Kaur, if you guys can figure that out, I guess if that's funding from the state or whatever. I think obviously that's going to be huge for you guys, and it will be big if some of these teams, if you're a Breiðablik or a Vikingur or even Kawak, and I think those are the three teams in Europe this year, if I'm not mistaken. I have to double check, but if they can get into Europe, right, that's a big pot. Like that's a total game changer for those clubs, and it may not necessarily help Kaur, but I don't know. The example is perhaps there of what Ajax did, and perhaps that's something for the league or the federation to explore. I don't know. But
yeah, I think we can touch maybe on Europe. I think Europe is a super interesting discussion, so we can maybe touch on that and closer to the summer. I think it's
yeah,
on both the team's chances, but also what that would mean financially if and when some of these teams actually make it to a group stage.
yeah.
I think that's which way are we going? Are we going what the internet likes to Europe and then rolling over everyone else for the next 20 years, or are we are we going more Dutch and spreading the wealth? I think it's a super interesting discussion, and I think one that the league needs to have as well, because I mean it's not been the greatest performance in Europe in the last few years, but it is coming. I think it's inevitable that one of these teams will make it.
Yeah. All right.
But maybe not today. Let's not talk about today.
Yeah. I think we'll leave it there for today. Once again, thank you very much for listening. Thank you for following us either here or on Twitter. And if you get an opportunity, we would love it if you could rate our show, give us a positive review, and let us know, what questions you have or what you think we can do better. I'm always open to healthy feedback. So yeah. Tryggvi, thank you so much for taking time again to join me. And yeah, for everybody out there, how do you say goodbye in Icelandic?
Bless. It's one of the simpler words today. Bless.
Bless. Okay. Well.
Yeah. Or bye bye.
Bye bye. All right. Very good. Thanks, everybody. We'll talk to you next time.
Thanks, everyone.